It has gotten cold, and I had intentionally scheduled this week off of deliveries. I'm just doing production, and you know, the cold's kind of helped me out because the ground gets real soft, and I can't take my trailer to where I want it to go and stack the wood because the ground's so soft. Well, now it's frozen. My goal today is I have a bunch of oak that I need to get made, and now is the right time because I can take my trailer across the yard. I won't get stuck. I can get it stacked. This row behind me, that is all oak, and that is for my one restaurant that does not care to have seasoned oak. So I said, well, I'm your guy. And follow me on up here. I am going to show you the other wood that I have made. This was 2 days of production. I've been pretty busy. I had made these two. This is almost 2 quarts. And that oak that you saw back there is almost a quart. I don't know. I do my measurements on a delivery, so I can't give you the exact amounts right now. But this is that's a lot of work. And that Japa 405, it makes the firewood fast. It takes you longer to stack it than it does to make it. So my goal right now is I want to get the live deck loaded up again, get my trailer put back into place, and then later I can make another load of firewood before it gets too dark, and then I'm going to stack it in the morning. This is maple and oak. This is some old oak. I'm going to split this big. That's going to be for the one restaurant. This is maple and oak. Got some big pieces in here. Maple and oak. This is the maple I've been working on. And that's maple and oak. This is all oak. This is what I'm going to be prepping with my saw and getting it forked up onto the live deck, guys. Whenever you pull up a log, there's always a surprise, it seems. So this knot, I need to measure, and I have a 16-inch maximum for this log to feed, and man, this is right up against it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just trim this knot off a little bit, and that'll save me a headache when this log's going through the processor. My saw of choice is my trusty Husqvarna 455 Rancher. This saw is about 12 years old. It's been a very good saw, but the last couple of years it doesn't idle very good. But I use it for trimming because I don't have to let it sit around for a long time. One of the things I try to do, I try to keep, when I'm loading multiple logs, I try to keep this end even. It just makes it lay on the table better. Sometimes if you get it too far to this side of the table, you know, it's going to hit the controls as it's being fed. So it's just one of the things that you might notice when I'm loading multiple logs. I always try to keep this side here pretty close, maybe within a foot of each other. Here's an example. This one I got a little bit too close. It's still going to clear. Challenge is I like to keep the butt end of the log on this side, because then you can put a longer log on because it's going to balance it. Come on over here, I'll show you what I did. So like this log, it's a lot longer, but I got the butt end on this side and you see it's tippy. You know, I can still get this to go. Otherwise I have to cut these in half. It just makes dealing with these logs a lot easier. But when you get a log like this, I'll just leave it long, but it helps if the butt end is on this side. So here's another one. You know, we're at a 16-inch max and this is out the 17-inch, so I need to trim this off. So the tail end of the log has the face cut on it, and if this was going through the processor first, I would trim this off and make that flat. But this will probably be an offcut, so I'm just going to leave this as is, because this will probably wind up in my woodshed anyways. This is red oak. Looks nice. That log had the ugly end on it. I spun it around so that it goes through the machine last. I can throw that out. And now I'm going to take two logs together. One thing you got to pay attention to is I thought these were all oak. Some of this got mud on it. This one here is a hickory log, and I had been setting my random hickory all the way up at the very end. I'm going to run all the hickory through it in one run. So I'm going to set this up here with the rest, and then I'll load this oak that's behind it. But the other thing is, I want to go ahead and cut this branch off if I can't get it to break, because it came off. You do not want to have these attached going through the processor. This is the kind of stuff that will make your chain jump off, and then it sets you back a lot. So we'll just get this out of the way, and let's get this hickory moved and get this oak loaded up. And as I'm coming up the road to load these, I'm also looking at the table and I'm looking for where I want to set these and just find out. I'm going to try to aim for that low spot. The other thing I try, especially in the winter time, my first few logs, I try to get the skinnies up towards the front, and that just helps the saw motor warm up, you know, with all the up downs. And then by the time it's warmed up, the big logs are coming through. So we're gonna go ahead and try to put these in the middle, and then we got, I think, one more to get cut up. I don't ever try to be in a hurry. When I had first started doing this, I would just cut these in half and get them loaded. But I take my time. I have made me a tape measure with marks, and they account for the kerf, which allows me to make a strategic cut. So I'm going to cut this one right here. This will give me all perfect 16 inches, and this side here might have the off cut. And it depends on how the log is shaped. Sometimes if this has got a weird end, I'll measure from this direction and make the offcut down here. You get the idea. I cut this in half, we'll load them both, and that's going to cut down on our waste. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. I just ran my shin into the hitch. Why do they put hitches there, guys? Okay, as soon as I'm done seeing double, we'll get back to firewood production. I have noticed we got one more hickory in this pile. This is a big one. And it's kind of got a weird part down here. We'll pull this out. I'm going to cut this in half, and we're going to set it up here. And once we get it out, I'm going to see if that's actually, this part here will fit through the machine or not. Have to cut this in half, but this section is already too big to go through the machine. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to still cut this in half from this direction. Right here. My live deck has a minimum width of 68 inches, so I have to have this side at least that long so that it will set on the table, and it is. So I am going to cut this log off right here, and I will buck this end myself into 16-inch pieces. This will go through the axis, and we will be left with two very nice looking hickory logs to go through the processor on another day. Let's get this cut up. Here's what I'm going to do. I will fork this down to the axis. I will buck it up down there on another day. Priorities right now. I want to get this oak run. I'm going to take this to take these two hickory logs and set them up here. Those will be run through the machine on a later date. And then I think the table is full to make some oak. Here we go. All right, I got the table loaded. I'm going to hitch up the trailer. We're going to put into the position, and then we're going to talk about what we've done here. Here we go. These earmuffs, I'm wearing them to keep my ears warm. It's cold out. Here's what we're going to do. We're backing this trailer all the way up the timber road. Guys, in a perfect setup, in a well-designed wood yard, I think you would have it like in a racetrack kind of a thing, where you never have to back the trailer up. But that's what I'm dealing with right now. Backing up the trailer is also kind of fun. So we're going to put it under the outfeed, and then we're going to talk about that live deck. Here we go. This is a pivoting outfeed. That's a big help. You know, when you load this broadside, you don't have to move your tractor, you just move the conveyor. And I am now set up for production. This live deck is now loaded, it's ready to go. A live deck was one of those things that I never knew existed until I got into firewood. And if you recall, my first Japa had that log lift where it would just pick the log up onto the infeed, and that worked great. But holy cow, these live decks are something. This is the Japa 471 live deck. It has a 2-chain infeed. The log's set on the chain. It is heavy too. These bars, this is like thick wall stuff. It's heavy, guys. This thing is a tip bar. If you do put on a log that's too long and it wants to tip off, this keeps it up on the table. I do my best to keep the logs straight, and that's the challenge when you do load multiple logs. Sometimes they'll fall down crooked, but here's where I try to start off with some skinny logs. It helps the machine warm up, and I'll just reach down and pull these into the trough for the next ones. It uses these isolators. This helps you feed one log at a time, and it is a pain, man. If you get a log, if you get 2 or 3 that fall in here at one time, it's hard to push them sometimes back off of the rollers because you can't be rolling, feeding 2 logs at the same time. And it uses these hourglass rollers so that it's always keeping the logs centered to the infeed. And it's got some good teeth on them too. It really gets a good bite. These live decks are the real deal. If you are into firewood production, if you do have a machine, think about getting one of these. I think anything would work, you know, if they're even with your infeed, because you can just roll them by hand. But when you get these 2-chain infeeds with these separators, man, you could really load these tables up with a lot, because I'm, what am I, 3 high here? And you can really make good production with these things. This thing it's got hydraulic motors, and the hydraulic pump on the machine feeds these. And they've added this tray to the center, so if you do have a short log, it won't fall down in here. That's happened to me before too. I need to get that on video when that has happened. All right, guys, that's what I was hoping to show you. And the sun is starting to get low in the sky, and I need to get busy and making these into firewood. And there you go, guys, firewood production. I am busy, and you know, we got really cold weather, but there's no snow, and that allows me to just get busy loading logs, processing them, and getting them stacked. I really hope you like this video. This is just another day in the life of a firewood delivery service. I hope everyone has a great day.